we'll be painting and we'll be glazing. I did a total of 4, just so you could get an idea of just 4 different looks. Maybe next time we'll do tables that don't involve clay at all, so you can kind of see those are really fun and magical as well, but it's just a totally different thing. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep your fingers crossed for me. My baby is graduating tomorrow, and I am so proud of him. He is just the most amazing human being, but I gotta tell you, I am such a mess. So those of you who have gone before me, send your strength my way, and everybody else, please keep me in your thoughts and prayers, because I totally need them. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. The tables are done drying and we're ready to add paint. I'm using a flat angled brush, nothing fancy, just they come in a 3-pack at Walmart. And here I'm just adding the base coat. I do work really fast. This is sped up, but I actually work really fast because I'm blending some colors, and once the paint dries, you can't blend it in quite the same way. You can still do a lot of things, but you can't blend it in quite the same way. So you can see I'm just kind of grabbing some of the wet yellow, and I'm just kind of pulling it to the edge, just because I'm trying to recreate what I think, the center of a flower might look like. But like with everything I do, there are no rules really. I just kind of do it and see how I feel about it. And that's definitely my approach to all this creative stuff. It's more about a feeling than it is about a rule or a specific way that somebody has taught me how to do anything. I just do it and see how I feel about it. And you know what? The greatest thing is, if you don't love it, you can totally paint over it. I love that actually about paint. I mean, whether you're painting a room or you're painting a fairy table, you don't gotta commit to nothing. You can just do it, and if it really bothers you, paint over it. And sometimes when I painted over things, I mean, that's really how I learned to layer in antique and create that really weathered look that people really seem to like, particularly as it relates to like shabby chic or something you'd see in the French Quarter or something like that. That's really how I learned to do it, was quite accidentally, just kind of covering something that I didn't really appreciate and then antiquing over that. And hey, what do you know? I figured out how to do something accidentally. Another thing to know about paint is layers matter. I think 3 layers is the magical number. And as you experiment and as you work on your projects, you'll see what happens when you just have 1 layer versus 3. Having really solid colors painted really affects the end result, so you want to make sure you get a good solid coat. Once you've got all your layers on there and you're satisfied with them, this is the funnest step ever. This is where you add the glaze, get a big fat brush, and just really cover absolutely everything. Get a lot on there. You're going to remove it in a minute, but you really do. You need it down in all of those little imperfections and the cracks and the little variations that you've created in the clay. And this is when you get to see why that's so important. And this is when you get to see the magic kind of come to life. So once you've got it fully covered, to remove the glaze, you want to have a lot of clean cloths. I'm using t-shirts on this project. Little towels work the best, but the next best option is cut up t-shirts. I've got a little extra glaze around this little button, and so I'm going to use a dry brush and I'm going to kind of pull it out. And then I'll remove what I don't want, just really, really gently. Now here's the trick about this particular step in the process. This is where you can get into a little bit of trouble because you run the risk of removing some of the paint from beneath. And so you kind of want to approach it with a one-shot kind of attitude. You want to get it done in one shot. Usually if you add more glaze after you've wiped it off, if you're going to see any kind of removal of the paint from beneath, that's when you're going to see it. And that happens occasionally to me, and you just kind of roll with it, but I'm never really thrilled when that happens because it changes. You can always kind of, if you're looking for it, you can always kind of see that it's happened. So just keep in mind, try and get it done in one shot, the removal process anyway. And here you can see this. So the stem of this table has just a tiny bit of variation in it, not a ton. I'm gonna just pull from the top down.
because there's not a lot of variation, so I want to create a heavier look on the bottom. So I start at the top, and as I pull down, I kind of lighten the pressure on my rag. So much of this, whether you're painting the actual table or you're removing the antiquing, is about the type of pressure you're applying. You know, when to be more heavy-handed and when to be lighter. I have a friend that when we're working together, I have to always say to her, easy on the touch, because there are only certain parts of this process that require a heavy hand. In fact, most of it, it's about knowing when to lighten your touch. So in this case, on this table, I've applied the glaze, and because it kind of goes out in a pinwheel kind of shape, I'm going to start at the center and I'm going to pull in the direction of that pinwheel. So instead of just going straight out, I'm kind of following the lines that are already there. And then I continue to do that down on the sides of the table. And if you just go straight out, or if you kind of swirl it, you're not going to get the same kind of effect. What you're really trying to go for is having the glaze really sit down in all of those variations that you've created. And in this case, not only are there deep kind of channels there, that I kind of sculpted out, but there's also just kind of variations in the surface of it. And I want to accentuate those as well. So here you can see same kind of shape, but it's a lighter color, and I wanted to just see kind of the difference in the way that looks once you've completed it. Again, I'm starting at the center and I'm pulling out, and as I pull to the edge of the table, I'm gonna lighten the pressure that I'm putting on my rag. You can see where when I pulled out, that little groove didn't have glaze all the way in it, and you can really see that. So you want to make sure, first of all, when you're glazing the table, you really, really get it down deep in there. You're kind of scrubbing that stuff on. And so I've removed it. Now I'm going to go to the edge. Now I'm making kind of a critical mistake here. Kind of is critical, I guess. I'm forgetting about the center of that flower, and the longer you leave the glaze on, the greater the risk is that you're going to remove some of the paint, and then it's just kind of a pain. That's my least favorite part about this process. If you don't get it off, or if you put more glaze on and then you remove it, it tends to pull some of the paint off. So just try not to get distracted while you're working on your project. And in the end, if you do pull paint off, what do? You just put it back on and you kind of go through the process again. So if you can see to the right of that flower, I really like the heavier antiquing on the very edge because it makes it kind of pop out, and so I decided to just add a little bit more to all of the edge. You can see it just kind of defines it a little bit more, and I just like the way that looks, so I decided to go with it on this particular table. But I'm seeing that see, now I'm saying, oh my gosh, I forgot to get rid of the center, and so I've really got to rub to get it off, but it's going to start to remove some of the layers of paint that I already added. And we're done. We went from this to this to this. Pretty cute, definitely pretty easy, and the best part is you get to set the little table for tea and cake. Any one of these tables would be a magical addition to your fairy house.